Mercedes intended to bring their first major upgrade package to Imola, but as we all know, that race never happened due to the flooding in the area. This meant they would have to delay them to a week later at Monaco, which was not the most ideal place to see how good the car really was, due to Monaco just being so different to any other track on the grid, with it being so unique. So whilst they had a solid performance in the streets of Monte Carlo with a P4 and P5, we would have to wait a week later until the Spanish Grand Prix to see what the newly changed W14 would perform like. When it came to the Spanish Grand Prix, it looked very promising for the Silver Arrows, who look to be on the up and are aiming to be back fighting for a championship in the very near future. The goal for the team seems to be try and use 2023 to find what is the best for them and hopefully be fighting for wins at the end of the season and hopefully be in a battle with Red Bull in 2024. In today's video, we'll be talking about how the Mercedes may be working in what they intended to do, what happened in Spain with them being good in the race and how the drivers are happy with the car now, and finally we will end on why Mercedes may have to copy Red Bull to dominate in this new era. Let's get right into it. To kick off things, we will be talking about how the Mercedes upgrades may be working in what they intended to do. Mercedes are in a battle this season for P2 in the Constructors' Championship, fighting alongside Ferrari and Aston Martin. The championship battle is gone for Mercedes and almost any other team, as Red Bull have been dominating everyone this season, and they already have both championships won pretty much this early on in the season. So the goal for Mercedes is to finish as high up in the standings as possible and build for next season, where they hope to fight for the title. They hope to have a similar end to the season as last year, as they were competing for race wins and of course won the penultimate race in Sao Paulo with George Russell. The upgrades for the rest of the season are to make sure they have good performances now, but it's like research and good data to see what works and what does not, so they know what to do when they are building the W15. Moving on to how the upgrades may actually be working, as they were brought in for, and we saw a bit of that in Spain, but also in Monaco. They want to have the second quickest car, or at least the third, and in Monaco, they were the third quickest car, and in Spain, they were the second quickest. It all does depend on the track for the teams fighting for the final podium places behind Red Bull, but Mercedes is looking to mitigate that so they have a good car at every single track. For the first couple of races, they were sometimes struggling to do well in qualifying and in the race, but in Monaco and in Spain, they do seem to be much more solid in where they are performing in every session. The intention for the upgrades seems to be doing its job so far, but where do you think that Mercedes will finish in the standings this season? Drop a comment below and let us know what you think. Moving on to our next topic, and this is about Mercedes of course, and this is about what happened at the recent Spanish Grand Prix. The team came into the weekend relatively optimistic, with them looking to see what their upgrades would fare up against their rivals. In qualifying, Hamilton was flying, with Russell struggled, and also had an incident with Lewis, which was nothing major as both drivers knew it was a mistake. Hamilton was the closest driver on pace to Verstappen and was in for a shout of a pole, but he would have a mistake on his last flying lap, which meant he started in P4 come race day. Russell just did not feel comfortable in the car and he did not get into Q3 and started the race in P12, which was disappointing as he saw what Lewis could do. The race was exceptional for Mercedes, as Russell would fight through the grid and finish on the podium in P3, with him being able to hold off Sergio Perez in the closing stages of the race. Hamilton had a pretty good driver, finishing in P2, showing very good pace in the W14, and was the first signs of the Lewis Hamilton who won all those championships not too long ago. A double podium was a pretty good result for the team, but one thing that was even more important was that the drivers felt pretty comfortable in the car in the race. Russell was able to have a pretty good recovery drive, and he said over the radio how the tyres were feeling good and that he felt good in the car. Same with Lewis too, who felt very good in the car and was not having to wrestle the car like we had seen from him and Russell before. The pair just felt better driving in the car in Spain, and they could handle it better than they have ever had before this season. If the drivers feel more comfortable in the car and can drive more smoothly, it means they will perform better, and this is what every Mercedes fan wants to hear after a pretty tough start to a season where they expected much more. In the race, they had a very good race pace, which has been common with Mercedes in this new era of Formula 1 cars, but it looked better. They also looked very good in qualifying, as we spoke about earlier, except for Russell, but with Hamilton, he looked quick and probably should have started on the front row. This is very promising and is showing to everyone that the upgrades are working for them, and they are getting closer to Red Bull and finding out what exactly works with their car and what does not. It will be very interesting to see where exactly Mercedes end the season off at. They could be very close to Red Bull or even beating them. It will be a very interesting fight to see that for certain. The team at the factory have a lot of work to do still, but the recent races are good signs and are a point where they can improve on. Our third and final topic is how Mercedes might have to copy Red Bull if they want to be dominating again. In Monaco, we got to see what the Red Bull floor fully looked like, which is what most teams have been waiting because it's rare to see the underside of a Formula 1 car, but Perez's crash in Q1 allowed this. The Red Bull floor is the place which gives them a lot of their downforce and pace, and it's probably the main factor in why they are always winning races and starting on pole this season. The team have come out and said that it will not be until the Japanese Grand Prix that we could see people having a similar floor to Red Bull. It'll be very hard to replicate, but it is not impossible. Mercedes may have to be the ones doing the copying right now. Before 2021, everyone would look at them and copy what they did, including Red Bull at times. But now, the tables have turned, and Mercedes may have to look at the Red Bull floor and try to copy it if they want to get close to the team. Red Bull has nailed the regulations, that's for certain, and it's going to be hard for anyone to get close to them unless they find a gap in the regulations to exploit, or they simply copy what is working the best. It will be a challenge to do this as the Red Bull car is completely different from Mercedes in a number of ways, such as the shape of the car. But as we always say, anything is possible in Formula 1. Mercedes have some of the best minds in the sport, and they could pull something out of the bag that we've not seen before to beat Red Bull, but they may have to take some inspiration if they want to be winning championships like they did year upon year. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this one.